guys, I hope you are ready for part 3.2. We are going to jump into this and start with just getting our Agora to work, because for our action flow that is pretty much something that we're going to require. Well, we can do that at the end, to be honest. I think for now let's start handling our actual calls, right? So we've specified our action to go to our new call page, but we haven't handled any logic yet when we do press on our buttons, right? So for now, what I'm going to do is I am going to start our call here, our call button, and we'll essentially be starting a call. Now I do want to make this a reusable component, just so I can import both here and there, and I don't have to rename and handle different variables and values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this widget in a container as such. Then I am going to say convert to a reusable custom component. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this the call button, and I'm going to create the component. And here the parameter is user reference. That's 100% correct. I'm happy with that, and we can confirm. Perfect. All right. Okay, so now on our call button, what we need to do is we can remove that condition there. We're going to add the condition on our actual value, or inside of our new call page here. We can now see we have call button there. I'm just going to copy that, go to my row here, and paste it in. Which is now not wanting to let me. Hold on. I see Flutterflow wants to be slightly difficult again today. So let's do this. Right? Paste it. Come now. Okay. Let's do this. Go in there. Call button. Don't know what was the issue. So I can grab that copy variable. I'm just going to put it on top of our call button there. Want to do the same for this one. So our call button, I'm going to do conditional visibility, and I'm going to paste it. There we go. And then finally I can delete that value and just come back and expand my row. There we go. All right. So now we can head to our call button, and I don't really care too much about this, to be honest. Firstly, it does need to update our page on change, right? So I want to come to our new call page here, climb in here, and say update page on changes. There we go, right? All right. Actually, this might not work the way that I would like it to work, to be honest. Yeah, it won't, because I need to handle page states inside of this page, and Flutterflow might not allow me to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that back out again, new call page. My apologies for that oversight. I don't know why it doesn't want to allow me. Why? That is the weirdest thing. I don't even want to know, to be honest. Okay. Let's delete it. Just copy variable, icon button, paste it. There we go, and delete. Oops, I did that. Let's duplicate it, and then I am just gonna move it there. Perfect. Okay. Right. Then let's start with our action flows. The first thing that we need to do when we start this call, right, is we need to update our page state. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to open it. We're going to add an action, and it's going to be update page state, right? And we want to set call or start call, set the value to be this user's document, user record reference, right? And then we also want to say that recent is the one that we are calling. All right. Then now for our recents list, right? We also want to know whether our recent, so if this is our most recent user to be called, then we want to make sure that that user is at the top of our list, right? So to do that, we're going to do an update app state and recently called users. We're going to remove from list users documents, user record reference, such, right? And then we're going to update this app state again. So copy action, paste action. Now we are then going to set the value, but to set this value, we need to do a new or do a custom function, right? Now I've already written the custom function. You can head down to the Discord, right, to come and fetch it there, and it would be this one here, right? We can just expand it, view the whole code, and all we need is we need this line of code. So we're going to copy that. Make sure not to copy the entire thing, otherwise you're going to have issues. We only need to have this. So we're going to copy that, right? I'm just going to put this on the side for now. I'm going to open up. I'm going to go custom functions, create new function. I'm going to so long paste that in that I just copied out. And then we now need to specify a few things. The first thing that we're doing is we are returning a list of user record references, right? Which can be nullable. So list document reference nullable, right? And then it's new custom function. Now I don't want to call it new custom function. I want to call it add item at top of list, right? So make sure that you edit it here, otherwise Flutterflow won't allow it. Like you can see the comments modify code only below this line, right? Otherwise it will say that your action is empty or cannot be passed. Right, let's add a few arguments here. The first argument that we're going to add is list of users, which is document reference. It is a list and it is users, and it can also be nullable, right? And then finally we also want to add our user document, which is nullable, and document reference of type users. Just like that. So there you go. Now you have document reference user, list of users, and then it's going to return, another list of users. And all we're doing is we're saying that if the user, right, this user is not null, so if we are actually passing in a user, then we want to check if this list of users, right, if it's, null, then we want to return the list of users and user, right? Else we want to do list of users dot insert our user at the very top. So this we are specifying an index value of 0, and we want to insert our user at the top of our list, and then return a list of users. The reason for this is we queried our data. If you remember our generate children query. So I'm going to save this function so we can just go back there. So let me just do this real quick here. So list of users, I'm going to just grab this app state, recently called users list, and then finally this users document, user record reference. Confirm, no further changes, right? Let's quickly go back to our list view here. So in our list view, we said that we want the first few items, which is 10. So you want the 10 of your most called users or your most recently called users in that list. So we need to make sure that our user is added to the top of that list when we call them, because they are the most recently called user, right? Okay, then now we can do the next step on this. Right, let me bring back my Discord here. Just gonna close that out, and there we go. Now we want to create our calls document. So let's create document calls. There we go. And now we need to set a bunch of fields. Oops. There we go. All right. So user A is going to be equals to authenticated user record reference because we are making the call. User B will be users document reference. Right? And then for users, I'm going to add first item, and I'm going to add my users document, my authenticated user record reference document, like that. Then app ID, we're not going to specify. Token ID, we're not going to specify, although from variable for our channel name. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a combined text of users document reference, right? Text, so authenticated user, user record reference, document ID, and then we'll do a random string. And we'll say min length to be 5, max length 10, we'll do digits and all. Let's confirm that, confirm it. Then the ringing needs to go to true. Call ended would be false, call declined would be false, declined by, we don't need. User A joined, right? We're going to say it's true because we are joining, we are making the call. User B joined though would be false, and then call placed at would be global properties current time. Okay, and then we can say create voice call, and I'm just going to say recents for this one, like that. All right. Now, because we are running a cloud function that essentially need to then generate that token, I'm going to add a wait delay of about 1500. That should be enough, should be fine, suffice. And then we need to start updating call managements, right? And the first user call management that we are going to update is our authenticated user. So I'm going to say update document, authenticated user, user call management document, and then I'm going to add in my fields. Okay, video call request, I'm going to delete that, I don't need that, and I also don't need the in call. The active, I'm going to say set to true, incoming is going to be false, and the active call reference is now going to be set to that action output and reference. Confirm. Perfect, just like that. Alright, then we also need to update our other users user call management document. Right, and to do that we are just going to change this value from authenticated user, and we're going to say user record reference for our other user, and then we can say that active is false. Oof, I said reference, my apologies. It should be our user call management reference. There we go. Perfect. So active is going to be false and not true, but incoming is going to be set to true. Now, the active call reference is set correctly, and then we just need to do a few more things, such as we want to trigger a push notification. Now, I see that I haven't yet set it up, so let's quickly go into our project. Let's go to push notifications. I'm going to enable it, and then I'm going to deploy. Alright, perfect. There we go. It's been deployed, and we can go back to our action configuration. What we're going to do here is going to say push notification, so trigger push notification. Our recipient is going to be a single recipient, and it's this user record reference. Right? Notification is going to be incoming call. Or actually, this notification title can actually be authenticated user display name, and notification text would be incoming call. and we can add image of authenticated user, photo URL. We want to deliver it with sound. We can select our page, which will be our call screen page, to which we need to pass in this call reference. So we're going to go back to our action outputs. I'm going to grab that created voice call resets. I'm going to grab that reference, and we're going to confirm. Now, finally, we then want to update our page state. So add action, update page state, and we want to update our start call and our recents, set value to false, and reset value. And then finally, we want to navigate to our call screen. Navigate to call screen. Where is it? There we go. Right, we will allow back navigation. What we'll do is we'll maybe do a scale of 250, and we'll pass in call reference, which will be our action outputs and reference. Perfect. There we go. Very nice and long action, but it's fine. Then we need to do our call action flow on our button here, right? Now, again, the first action that we're going to do is we're going to update page state, and we're going to say recents to set the value to false, start call, and set the value to be user's document, user record reference, such, and then we need to create our calls document. So you can add an action, create doc, calls, such, and let's add our fields. What we can do is we can come back here, just copy our create calls document. So we're going to copy action, go back here, delete this one, and then paste action. Right, now we just want to rename that so it's not recents, but just say create voice call. User A, user B, we'll need to change that to the user record reference as such. Users is fine. Channel name, we'll need to grab this user's documents, reference, confirm. Ringing, all of that is fine, that's good. And then we need to do something. Now we first need to do a conditional, and this conditional is going to be whether we can do a single condition. Going to grab app state, recently called users, number of items, right, is greater than 0. Alright, so if a user's document exists in our list of recently called users, then it would be greater than, and we're going to go with a true action. If not, then we just want to update app state. We want to update our recently called users. We want to add to list. We want to add our user record reference. Okay. Otherwise, we want to do a conditional where we are checking, so single condition, app state, recently called users, list contains item. Okay, we can actually don't need to do a single condition. We can just go to app state, recently called users, then list contains item, and grab our users document, user record reference, confirm. So if it does contain our item, so if that list, our recents list, contains the user record reference, then we want to first remove that user record reference, right, before adding it again. So we can go to our calls document here, and essentially this is the action flow that we are going to follow, right? It's this one. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to say copy action, delete action, paste, and paste. Firstly, I'm going to remove from list this user's document, and then I'm going to set the value to be that custom function, add item at the top of the list. We'll do our app state, list of users, and then our users document, user record reference. No further changes. That's good. Right. And if it did not contain the item, then all we need to do is copy this action and paste it there. Perfect. Right. Now that we've done that, we can finally exit it, but we still want to do our wait delay. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come into my action flow, because the rest of the action flow is going to remain the same. I'm going to copy the action chain, come into my other button, want to delete the action, and paste all those actions, right? And then I'm going to say my active call reference though is not the created call reference of that one, but just the create voice call reference. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to copy this value out, so copy variable, update document. I want to also paste it in here, and we'll see there's an error there. That's because this user's document, we need to grab their user call management document. And then finally our call reference here, we need to replace that. We also need to change our recipient to be our user's reference, and then our call screen, when we navigate there, we need to pass this create voice call reference, just like that. Okay, and I can close it out and I can have a look. So they're saying that it's again out of date. I'm just going to deploy again, and this can run in the background. That's fine. All right. So now that we have that, we will be navigating to our call screen, right? But our user will also, if we are receiving a call, then we are going to receive this little notification in our application. Now that means that we need to handle a few things here, and let's do that quickly first before we start handling everything inside of our call screens. So on our decline button, we want to update a document, and let's open that like this, add an action, update document. We're going to do our authenticated user call management document. We're going to set some fields. And the first field that we want to set here, so let me just make sure, let me just check here, authenticated user, yes, all right. Active is false and incoming is false. I want to add an action. I'm actually just going to move this up, and we're going to update document. Call reference. We're going to update it with let's say call ended. So let's grab call ended, it's true, and then also call declined, like that, and we're going to set that value to true. Then we can copy this action, we can paste it, and this time it's just going to be that of our user's document. So we will definitely need to do a quick query here. So on our row, we want to do a document from reference, and we're going to get users, and we want to get user age references. There we go. Perfect. All right, so let's update the document. We will grab the user's document, user call management document. Active would be false, incoming set to false. What we can also do is to then just clear our active call reference and say update delete the value, and the same with this one. We're going to grab that active call reference and delete the value like that. Perfect. Alright, so now we will be declining the call. Then we also need to handle when we are answering the call. Now this is also only going to be about 3 actions. So essentially all I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab these 3 actions, copy action chain like that, go to our answer button, I'm going to open up, I'm going to paste, but now we are firstly going to update our call document, and we're going to say users and user B joined, and then we can also do ringing, right? We need to change ringing. There we go. That's also something on the call, the client call, on our call index. We also need to add another value here where we change ringing to false. So call the client and call index would be set to true and ringing to false. Now, if we add to set our own document, authenticated user record reference, then we will now also have the score in the call log. Right now, I also just want to do that here. So users, so regardless of what, we will have the score show on our side. So add to set and then calls document, authenticated user record reference, just like that. Perfect. Okay, and we also need to update the client by, my apologies. So the client by and authenticated user record reference, confirm. Alright. Now for our answer, we did our users, we added it. We want to say user B is joined, ringing set to false, and we do not need to change anything else, but just to be sure, let's go through this. All of this would have been set. Yeah. Alright, so there we are good. Then finally we can navigate to our call screen. Right, we'll do a scale of 250. We're going to pass in our call reference. There we go. That's all we need to do, and we just need to update our own document to say that active is true, incoming though is false, and we can remove that active call reference. Don't clear that. Perfect. That is all that we need to do. Okay, so now we've handled that, we can go to our call screen, quickly handle our action flow here, and then we will deploy our cloud function. Alright, so first things first, on our little icon, so if we are the caller, so we are calling the other user, then we need to specify an action for this drag target. So we're going to click on drag target, we're going to go to the action flow, right, because on accept, so if we drop in that item, then we need to start an action flow. The first thing we want to do is we want to update the document, and we want to update our call reference document. Let's just grab all of our stuff here. It's easier just to grab everything and remove what you don't want. Okay, so user A, I'm not going to do anything. User B, not anything. Users, I'm not going to do anything. Well, actually, I can do the users one, right? Because I'm just going to add to set this users document reference. So even if I then enter call, then they can see it. Okay, there we go. App ID, token ID, channel name. we do want to set this ringing to false, call ended to true. We're not going to do call the client by, we don't need to do that. We're going to set user A and user B joined to false, and yes, okay, so that's all we need to do for that one. Then we also need to start doing some updates, right? The first thing that we need to update is the other user. So I'm going to say update document, and I'm going to update the user's record, user call management reference, like that. I'm going to click on everything. I'm going to delete the value, so update delete, like that. In call false, can remove that one. Incoming active, all of that would be set to false. Then I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to copy the action, I'm going to paste it, and this time I'm just going to query the authenticated user record reference, user call management document, and essentially do the same, just like that. And that is all we need to do on that action. We can close this out. Right, let's go in here. Let's click on show in UI builder because we don't want to see it. Actually, you know what? I want to grab this drag target, and I want to copy this action chain, all of it. And then I'm going to close that out. Click on drag target for that one. I'm going to open. I'm going to paste the actions. Now we are going to have to make some changes there. It's not going to be the same, but it's going to be similar. So also we have 3 documents that we need to update. The first one is our update document. We want to turn the ringing to false. We're going to set call ended to be true, but this time we also want to say that call the client is set to true, and then call the client by, right, is authenticated user record reference, confirm. And this time we will be adding to set our own reference here, confirm. User B, user A joined, that's true. And all we need to do is update the user's document reference, confirm. And the user call management, like that, confirm. So all of it and all of it. Perfect. That's all. Alright, now we also are going to do something very similar for accepting the call, right? So copy action chain this time again. Going to come to our drag target here. We're going to open and we're going to paste. Now for this one we need to accept the call, right? So technically all we're going to do is we're going to say that active is true, incoming is false, in call is true, and we don't need to delete our active call reference, the same here. In call is going to be set to true, incoming is false, but active is true, just like that. Now for our calls document, we're going to set ringing to false. We can delete call ended, user A joined, right? We don't need to set that. We do need to set that user B is joining, ringing is false. We're going to add to set our authenticated user. Call the client we're going to delete, and the client by we're going to delete, right? Just like that. Okay, that's all we need to set for this one. And that would now accept the call. So we can now finally just close out on this one. Let's do that. And now for our little button when the call has ended. Let me just get there in my notes. Okay, so we're going to have something very similar for this button here. I'm going to open, I'm going to paste all the actions. We're going to set this ringing to true, call indet, oops, let me just get all the values right. So we're going to say user A joined. Well, it depends. It literally depends on who's user A and who's user B. So essentially we need to check who is it that's joining, and to do that I'm going to add a conditional which is going to check. So single condition, calls document user A is equals to authenticated user record reference. Well, actually, since I'm starting the call, yeah, I don't need to do this check. I'm sorry. So I'm just going to delete this action because now I'm just changing this to true. User A joined, I'm going to set that to true. User B joined is going to be false. I don't need to reset users though. Call the client will be false. The client by, I can delete this value. User A would now be the authenticated user record reference. User B would now be our user's document because I'm restarting the call. Regardless, app ID I don't need to set, token ID I don't need to set, channel name I don't have to set. Call ended would be false, and we can update our call placed at. Well, no, we don't want to. We want to keep it the same, right? Okay. So we just need to specify our user's call management. Like that, confirm. And we can, from variable, be that call reference, in call, well, this would be the other user, so definitely true. For specific value, active would be false. For myself, active would be true. Incoming would be false. In call though would be true, and we can from variable set that to be call reference. Just like that. Perfect. Alright, now we've handled all of this logic and we just need to still do our logic for end call. Right, so inside of our Ghost Coding Basic voice channel, we also have an end call button, and that lies with this action flow there. So it's also going to be something very similar, to be honest. There we go. I just want to get to my notes. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to update document firstly. We want to update our calls document, and we want to say call ended, wrong one, call ended to be true. We want to remove our user A joined to false and our user B joined to false. Now I am handling the destroying and the leaving of the channel inside of the code, so we don't need to do that on the outside, right? And then finally we just need to update our documents. So update document, users call management. We can copy this action again, paste it, but this time it would be for the authenticated user record reference. User call management, confirm. So active to false, incoming to false, video call request, we don't care about that, we're not handling the video calls currently. And the active call we want to set to delete, and the same here. We just want to go to active call, set that to be delete, and then we can delete this video call request. Perfect. All right, and now we can finally do our cloud function. Now if you've never done cloud functions in the past, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you have your project set to the Blaze plan, right? Otherwise you can't run Cloud Functions. Now for me, I already have this function running, so I don't want to have any conflicting issues, so I'm actually just going to delete this one. So let me delete the function. Yes, delete it. Perfect. Right. Okay, so let's go to get this done. Now if you head to my Discord channel, then you are going to find both a readme.md file. Now this gives you all the steps as well as the commands that we need to follow and that we will be following throughout of this part to create this this Firebase function. And the reason why I'm doing it outside of Flutterflow is because Flutterflow is terrible when it comes to deploying Cloud Functions, and I am going to be having my variables and like my app ID and app certificate set inside of env just for as an extra security measure, and therefore I really don't want to use Flutterflow. They are utterly terrible when it comes to deploying Cloud Functions. It's meant to be good, but it's really not. I will show you how to do it if you want to go that route. It's 100% fine. It's up to you. But other than that, I'm doing it outside of Flutterflow. Alright, so you will see there's a function here. This is the Cloud function for generating the Agora token. And to do this, let me just move over my Discord. I'm going to close there and I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop. I'm going to call this What's Flow, Agora and Token, right, like that. I'm going to open it up like this, the folder, and I'm going to click Open with Code. Now if you don't see this option, let's say that you are making use of Visual Studio Code and you tick your boxes for allowing other folders to be opened with Visual Studio Code, or using the code command, then you can use that. If you are using Notepad, that's up to you. But we do need to generate or create our Cloud function. There we go. Okay, don't care much about that currently. What I want to do is I want to open up my terminal, right? So I want to go to New Terminal here at the bottom. I'm going to open that up, and then we can go to the Discord channel, right? Because we now first need to set up our Cloud function environment. Now it's important to note that if you look here, I've also specified that it doesn't matter whether you use Notepad++, Atom or VS Code. You can use whatever IDE you want in order to write this. You will, however, need to make sure that you download Node.js. Now it can be downloaded and installed from this link here that you can find inside of this readme.md file. Okay. Now for our Firebase Cloud functions. Alright, I've added a few things here for you to open CMD, navigate to desktop, creating a folder. I didn't go that route now, I just created a folder on my desktop, that's fine. But now I'm going to create or npm init y, right? Now I'm going to go the full route as if you've never had Firebase tools installed or whatsoever, just so that I make sure that you don't run into any errors. I already have it installed, but I'm just going to go through the entire process with you. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to paste that in npm init-y, right? And that is going to create a package.json file, right? I can then come and I'm going to say npmi. So if you don't know what npm stands for, that is basically node. It's a command line in order to install certain packages, right? So I'm going to now install Firebase tools, but I'm specifying -d that it's specifically for development. So you will see here I've added it in brackets, right? We're going to paste it just like that. And if we have a look at our package.json file, you will start seeing some changes. So you'll see that just appeared a new folder here for me above package.json, which is node modules, which is essentially from what I'm doing here now, right? There we go. and we can just wait for this to finish loading. It can take a few seconds, up to a minute, sometimes even longer. It honestly just depends. Alright, perfect. So there you will see dev dependencies. It now added Firebase tools for us, right? We can now go back and then we can just make sure. So we're going to do now an npx Firebase tools and then just check the version. So like that, check it, and then we can continue. Right, okay. Let's just also make sure you now need to log into your Firebase by using npx Firebase tools login. Now I am already logged in, so I shouldn't have to log in again. So you can see already logged in, but however you will need to follow the steps just to log in, but it's very basic to do that. Alright. And now we can go and initiate our functions, right? So this will create a nice functions folder with your index.js, etc. So I'm going to do npx Firebase init functions. You will now see it gives us an option that it's going to say, are you ready to proceed? I'm going to say why, and then it's going to ask me, do I want to use an existing project or create a new project? Now I'm going to use an existing project because I already have one set up. It would be the same for you, so I'm just going to go to it. There we can see I have basic what's flow, and I can select it. Now it's going to ask you a few more questions, such as what language would you like to use, JavaScript, TypeScript, or Python. For this I am using JavaScript, not TypeScript or Python, so I'm just going to say JavaScript. I definitely want to make use of ESLint. If you don't know what ESLint is great for repairing bugs and fixing your code. So definitely you would like to install that. I'm just going to say yes. And do you want to install dependencies with npm now? I'm going to say yes. And there we go. Now you will see that you now also have a folder here called functions. Perfect, there we go. Alright, all done. We can go into our functions, and now we will see that we have some new things here. For one, something that we have is an index.js file, right? Now we also need to create a .env file. Now we need to make sure that we create this file inside of our functions directory. And now also, since we will be, building out more inside and also deploying from our functions folder, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say cd functions, enter, so that I can make sure that I am inside of this functions directory, right? Now let's go in, let's close that out quick, let's expand our whole file, and let's copy everything. I'm gonna copy it, go back to my VS Code, Control All and paste. Control save. Now this is now what you get with ESLint. So all I'm gonna say is I'm gonna say fix all fixable problems, like that. There we go. Right, and we can save. Now you will see that we have app ID and everything here that we need to pass in. We are also fetching our calls document by a specific call ID. So this is essentially what is happening. As soon as we create a calls document inside of our Flutterflow application, then it would trigger this cloud function. So it then gets that call ID on create, right? It fetches the call data, and then we are going to start creating or generating that Agora token, right? So we get the channel name, the call data channel name, and publisher. All of this is, you can find all of this in the Agora documentation. And then we also need to now generate that token, or this RTC token builder. And we need to build the token with the app ID, the app certificate, the channel name, then the UID, role, and privilege expired TS, etc. So the privilege expire is a current timestamp plus an expiration timestamp in seconds, which is this one here, essentially. And we also then specified an RTC role here of publisher. UID is 0, so that's if there's not a specific user ID, then we do 0, otherwise it's fine. And then we have channel name. Alright, then we have our Firestore query, which is a collection of calls, and call ID. Now we can also specify this UID to be that of the user creating the call. So let's say user A. You're more than welcome to do that. It's not necessary, but you can definitely do that. But yeah, so for this, I'm gonna then await admin.firestore.collection, call ID and update app ID of app ID and token ID of token, right? Okay, and here you will see that we've specified process.env, which is app ID, and process.env, which is app certificate. Now we are going to create this .env file so we can store our app certificate and app IDs from Agora inside of that file. So I'm going to click on functions. I'm going to say new file inside of functions, and I'm going to call that .env. Now inside of that .env, I want to add in app ID, and then we're going to grab our app ID from our Agora after we've created our item. So app certificate, let's go down like that. We can save it, quickly go here. There we have it. We can now click on app ID. We've copied it, and then we're going to paste it in here, and the same with our app certificate. Now make sure that you always keep this secure and you don't share it with anybody, and because of that I am going to pause this video just until I've done this, and then I will see you back now. Alright, perfect. Now it is important to know that you need to install a few things, right, from this functions directory. So we're going to run a few npm packages, and the first thing that you need to do is, in order to have or have to run .env and do the entire keeping everything secure in your app, .env file, you need to install a package called .env. Now to do that, you're going to do npm install .env. This you can find inside of that Discord file, that readme.md file. And then also we want to install the package Agora access token. Okay. Now to do this, I'm going to do it a different route so that you can also see how else you can do this. And that is just by going to the package.json, right, adding a comma here, and adding the package Agora access token that I've added for you inside of the readme.md file. So you can just add this, you can save it, and then we're just going to run npm install. Now npm install will then just make sure that all of these packages are installed and up to date. Yeah, it says the package has been deprecated, please use Agora token instead, sorry for the inconvenience caused. Interesting. So all we need to do is then just change that to Agora token if we had to. But this should still work fine. I don't see why it shouldn't or should be an issue. And yeah, now we can just deploy this function, right? We've now added everything. We are now ready for deployment. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the following code. So it's going to be npx firebase deploy only functions, and run it. Now if you rather want to use Flutterflow for this, then you can go into Flutterflow, right here. You can go down to the cloud over here, you will need to add those package.json files in here. So need to ensure that you have all of these packages installed. So .env, Firebase admin, Firebase functions, and Agora access token. So you can just copy this out. For example, well, you don't need the .env because you will then now be handling it differently. So you can go into your cloud functions, you can add it there, and then just say save. Let's go to new cloud function, and we're gonna say index.js. Gonna copy that out, go in here, do this, and then all you need to do is, just like you see here, to avoid deployment errors, do not call admin.initialize in your code, right? So what you can do is you can remove that admin.initialize app. You don't require .env here, right? Because we're not using it. And then we are doing const app ID. So instead of process.env here, you can then add your app ID and then also your app certificate, right? Just remove that. Then from there, you can save the cloud function and deploy. All right. Now for me, yes, I'm going to discard. I don't need to do any of this. So I'm going to go out and go back to my Firebase, my Visual Studio Code. And there we can see that my deployment was complete and successful. So now if I go back into my Firebase and I refresh, then I will see that I now have my Agora token here. So generate Agora token on create. Perfect. Now if you did name your collection something different, you perhaps didn't call it calls, you called it anything else, then you also just need to go and update this code so that you can specify what it is. So calls, you will need to rename that to your actual database or your collection name, as well as just channel name. Make sure that that matches your channel name or the field that you specified in your document exactly to the T, right? Now, I am happy with this. Okay. Yeah, this is good, and we can basically do testing. I just want to make sure that we've added everything, but it does look that way. Let's go back into our Agora. Let's go to all projects. We can see active. We have one here. It is secured, and we can make our call. So what I'm going to do is I'm just quickly going to pause this video. It's now being difficult because I saved this there. Give me 1 second. Alright, there we go. I just had to now actually go and add everything the way that it needs to be inside the package.json, so it accepts it because it doesn't want it to be empty. So yeah, just went and copied everything from my package.json file over. Well, somewhat everything. Okay, this is good. I'm happy with that, and we can now test this out. I'm just going to open this. Well, no, actually, I'm just going to download an APK, right, for testing, and then yeah, we'll quickly test on mobile version and then also on the my actual device, and then we know whether things are working or not. All right, let's also go just to see if web publishing is turned on. I'm not too sure if we turned it on or not. So I'm just going to do web publishing that too, that's fine. And let's see, web publishing, there we go. That's fine. SEO title, we'll just say what's flow tutorial. I don't have any, do I have anything? Oh, I do, yeah, okay. I don't have any fab icon. I haven't added anything there yet, yeah. status bar, we'll make that nice little primary background, and we don't want to show watermark, and we can deploy. All right, we'll come back as soon as this is done so that we can do our testing. Actually, I've decided while we just wait for this to publish and APK to download, I want to take you through the Agora documentation, right, in order for you to make changes however you want. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go to Flutter, and I'm going to open up 5.3.1 for API references, because this is the version that I'm using for this, right? It's easily integratable with Flutterflow. So if you have a look at the overview here, and you also go to here, so core functionalities and everything. So here you have volume control and mute. Something that I did was I didn't add a mute button for this. This is a very basic call screen. I do have, or I'm currently working on a very advanced call screen for. There's one which is just for voice calling, which is advanced, includes everything from muting the mic button. It's got proximity sensors, so to know whether the phone is on the ear or away from the ear, as well as keeping the screen on so the screen doesn't die. Everything functioning exactly the same as WhatsApp phone call, right? So it keeps everything nice and interactive and clear. The call screens also comes with the option to add video calling to it, where you can then either have just a separate voice calling or video calling screen. And then I'm also building a very large scale call screen with everything integrated, also handling group calls, both for voice calls and video calls, as well as switching between it, being very interactive, including specifying which user is the most active, things like that. So all of that you can achieve just by going through these documentations and understanding what it is that you need to do, right? So the first thing is, if you see this, you can adjust playback volume, for example. So you can set a specific playback volume either for yourself or for a different user by specifying the ID. Things such as mute a local audio stream, so you can either mute yourself or mute somebody else. So there you have your local audio stream, and then you have a remote audio stream, so that would be the other user, right? So you can mute them. And then you can get volume information from users. So essentially it indicates whether the user's volume is, whether they are speaking or not, right? And what their speaker volume is and all of that. So this helps a lot in order to be able to see whether the user is actually speaking or not speaking. Now there's a lot more that you can also do from here. You are more than welcome to run through these. What I'll show you is inside of my code. What I've done is, firstly, if we get past all of the parameters, I have a few page states set here. So firstly, whether the speaker is enabled or not. By default it is false, because it's a voice calling, so as soon as you answer the call, your phone normally goes to your ear. If not, then you can just tick the button and it will put it on the speaker, right? Then of course I just also need to see whether the local user has joined or not in order for me to start the channel. Then I need to have the remote UID, so the other user's UID. Then I'm checking whether the remote user is speaking or not, so updating a little icon to show when they are speaking and when they are not speaking. Further than that, what we then need to do is we need to initialize our Agora, right? So we need to start our entire engine, and for that we are doing this function here. So here we are just checking the remote user's volume, so when they start speaking, if it's higher than 3, then it will update on our side to say, listen, this user is currently active or not, they are speaking or not speaking. And it would update in intervals of 15 milliseconds. Now you can, I've added a lot of comments here for you in order for to do it. Then as well as here we handle our events, so we're joining the channel or not. and we're also checking whether the user is offline or whether the user has joined. And here comes the fun part. So here is the audio volume indication. So we are specifying it whether is remote user speaking true or is remote user speaking false, right? So if their speaker volume is greater than 3, then they are speaking, otherwise it is false. And then finally, we are also trying to toggle the speaker value. Now you will essentially do something very similar for when it comes to muting. So you will do a void on toggle mute, and then just set the state. So we're setting the state up here. So is speaker enabled. So we can also call those values in. So if speaker is enabled or not enabled, then engine.set enable speaker phone is speaker enabled. So the engine needs to set the enable speaker phone so that it's on loudspeaker. If is speaker enabled is set to true. Right, then lower down, when we get to our actual action flow, here we have our on end button. So ending the call, we are then firstly destroying our engine, then leaving the channel, right? And then we call our callback action so that we can handle logic outside of the custom widget. Other than that, we also specifying here whether the speaker is enabled, and then we're returning different icons for it. Let's quickly delete this. Don't want that, and I don't want this. Basic ones flow release. We can save that. Yes, save it. All right. Okay, and here's the remote audio widget, in where we just also returning whether the user is speaking or not speaking. So this will essentially be how you handle things, right? And especially also toggling values such as speaker values, mute values, switching cameras, or switching to a video call, whatever the case may be. But all of this you can find within the API reference docs, right? They do give you a thorough understanding of what it is that is required for you to do. So you can even climb on here. So if you check out leave channel, then it gives you a rough understanding. So there you can see future void leave channel, and future void mute all remote audio streams. Things such as that. So they take you thoroughly through it, and then you just need to handle the remainder of the logic inside of your code. So I do hope that you go through this documentation to have a better understanding, but it's really good documentation, so I'm sure you'll do great. Alright, let's go quickly and check out our web publishing, and it was published, so let's go and have a look. Right, let me just install this on my phone real quick. Let's do this, go to downloads, let's copy it. Okay, and paste. Perfect. All right, I'm just going to turn on my tethering. As such, I want to turn this inspect. There we go. No need for that. Do this. Oops, and there we go. Now we have my phone here, and we can quickly test the application. First things first, we also just need to sign in, and I think I will just sign in with 555 111. We can get the OTP. For me, I'm just quickly going to install it, update. Doesn't want to update. Let's do this. I know I have it here somewhere. install it. Okay, here we can enter our 111. Open. Now I've already created 2 accounts, so there's Peter and you can save. And here I'm going to do 205.555.222 get OTP. And we'll do this one, set it in nicely, crop it, and save. And there we go. Alright. I can now click on calls, right? And there we can see recently called users is empty. If I click here, then it will update the little search item, otherwise go back. And I can now call Kyle, right? Which I'm gonna do. I'm calling Kyle. Kyle was now just added to my recently called users. And let's see. That's weird. Now let's go and have a look here. What is it that we did? So, new call page. There we go. Open up, create document, create voice call. Added all of that. Trigger push notification. We've handled it correctly. We have a create voice call. Okay. Let's see. For some reason it's not going. Let's have a look see as to why. It's possible that it is an action. So let's have a quick look here. User call management. There we go. That's the issue. Right, so it couldn't write or delete in our user call management collection because it was set to no one can write or delete in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to initiate a new call here. This time I'm going to start the call from there. There we go. I can now accept the call, so you can see that it was pretty quick, all of this. And I can answer. And I'm going to say while using the app, turn on microphone actions. Alright. So there you can hear it's coming through. It's going to echo. Even worse now. Let's do this. Alright. And let's end the call. Here we go. Alright, so now if I then press here, right, you can see that it comes in like this. So nice little blocks here. I just need to come and check why these animations aren't running the way that it needs to. I'll come and have a look now. If I decline this call, then it will say here, call declined by Kyle, and I can try again. And this time I'm going to accept my call. There we go. Call accepted. Ooh, that's loud. Alright. And enter, end call. Now we can go and make some changes. Currently, we can see that we also got an incoming call notification from Peter. If you go into it now, then it's going to say call ended with Peter. Now I can call back, right? There we go. And accepted or not accepted. So end call, here we go. Alright. I am just gonna do some minor things here, such as making sure that this call screen now, displays nicely. So I'm gonna go to call screen just to make some minor changes, and then we're just gonna test it once more. Let's quickly do this. So the first thing that I want to do on this call screen is want to go up, and I am happy with all of that. I do, however, want to say that this needs to be like 0.96. Hit percentage height, I'm going to make that to be 0.65. Main container borders radius, I'll make like a 5, that's fine. Main background, I'm going to set that to be transparent. I'm going to leave that as such. I'm not going to change on that. I do, however, the profile border radius, I'm going to set that like at 1000, so I'll make sure that it's a nice round circle, right? The action container background as primary, I'm happy with that. Button row padding, I was happy with that. Button width, I think I'm gonna make it more like 45. That would suffice. Then we'll make this 25, and even this one 25, with this one also is 25. Then I'm happy with my colors for the buttons. That's fine. Okay, yeah. I do think I'm gonna make this about 16 and 16. We should then be able to see things a little bit better. And yeah, alright, so let's quickly check this out. I'm just gonna download a new version and also publish this one, and then we'll see the differences. Alright, there we go. Now, if we look here, we can now also see that we have Kyle with incoming calls, right? He's made some nice incoming calls, which was that one, and then an outgoing call there. Let's do a quick one where we're going to decline the call from Kyle. So, calling and decline, right? Call declined by Kyle. Alright. There's something that we forgot, was to add a back button, right? But then we can now see call outgoing, and there we have it, a nice little declined icon. Right, let's go back in again. We're gonna answer it, and there we go. Calling Peter. Right, this is now still on all version. Let me just quickly mute there. Alright, let's check it now. Yup, there's a lot of echoing. I'm just going to end this call now. Alright, perfect. All that call and handling the voice and everything, that echoes quite a lot. But we can now see the difference between the call screens, luckily. And it's looking good. I'm very happy with it. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this part of the tutorial. Next up is full on chat creation, just to give you guys an insight of what's coming for part 4. We will be using Bunny CDN. If you don't know what Bunny CDN is, it's a great way of delivering content So we'll be using this throughout the application. This will be for videos and images and everything. It loads in a server to really deliver the things fast and effectively to your clients. I'll most likely build out both a chat screen, which is just full on with what Flutterflow has to offer, but I'm also looking at incorporating getstream.io, right? And building a full on messenger screen using their SDK. Now, they do offer a lot of custom things, and I am looking into building this out with them or using their actual API for it, and I'll probably add that as a part 5. However, budding will definitely be a part of everything, and I'll be giving custom actions and uploads and webhooks and everything with part of this tutorial.